All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Real Talk. Jeff here. Brad. Brad, how are you, man?
Dude, I'm doing good. I'm doing well. There were some great games last weekend. Excited for the two games coming up this weekend.
Absolutely. I mean, we kind of talked about this last week. I thought most of the games were coin flips. Really hard to quote unquote call a game. There were some interesting spreads on all of them, and um, for the most part, I don't think anybody's shocked by the outcomes of any game. But I think they were all fun and all intriguing. And the four teams remaining are clearly the best. And I think for the most part, all four of them have been in our top 10 the entire year. I don't think I don't think any of them dropped. Maybe Tampa once, maybe. I
They were hovering around 10 for a minute, but
I mean, for the most part, we knew
they
the four
had a
teams were
really
good.
good reason for being there. I mean, the lack of chemistry and the new amount of newness to the team. So,
Yeah, but before we even get into conference championship Sunday, let's go ahead and talk about some fun storylines around the league. Um, let's start with Drew Brees. Um, finishes up um, in a loss this week in the divisional round to Tom Brady and the Bucks. They lose 30-20. Brees was not great, threw three picks. He had another ball completed that was fumbled, so four total turnovers for the defense. Yeah, I mean Brees looked rough. He's 41 years old, and Jay Glazer before the game reported that's probably his last game, and it was definitely going to be his last game at the Superdome in New Orleans. Let's you want to share anything about Drew Brees? You want to say anything about Drew Brees?
I mean, true underdog story in terms of like what he was able to overcome. Overlooked out of high school, goes to Purdue, sets records, comes into the NFL. Gets injured, drafted at 5'9". Will he ever be able to throw the same? Goes to New Orleans with a smart young coach, Sean Payton, and then the rest is kind of history. Um, whether you liked him or didn't like him, or whether you think he's system or indoor or anything like that, Drew Brees, the person, there's really no faults there. Everyone likes Drew Brees, who he is, standard, just a great example of what you want out of professional athletes. And I honestly can't wait to hear him in the booth if that's where he chooses to go. I think I've heard ESPN has some stuff lined up for him, and I think it'd be really cool to see him and Peyton Manning in the booth together. I think that would be really pipe dream stuff. But yeah, I'm excited to see what Drew Brees can do. And, looking here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. In 14 pretty major categories, he's top three all time, if not first or tied for first in all but one of them. So when you look at the record, Brooks, it'll be a really long time. Maybe never will Drew Brees be forgotten. I think he's a unanimous top 10 quarterback of all time.
Yeah, I mean Drew Brees is he's special in a lot of ways. Number one, what you said off the field. Um, there's a lot of things that didn't go right in Drew Brees's um, his path to stardom. But one thing that kind of um, unfortunately happened that really got let us get to know Drew Brees is Hurricane Katrina. Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans and tore them apart, and Drew Brees kind of he orchestrated a comeback, not just on the field but off the field, with money and funds and leadership, and then for us, a lot of people, anybody that's listening to this podcast for sure, sports are a big outlet, and sports can be very uplifting when your team is up, you know, and to bring that team a Super Bowl at the right time and just bring that city and elevate that city to new heights was huge. And the Saints were really, I mean, look at them. They were a laughing stock for years, and they've always been a laughing stock outside of Drew Brees being there. True Hall of Fame quarterback, true Hall of Fame talent. Um, the other day on Facebook, I called him a system quarterback, and that's just all in fun and games. Um, it's really my outlet of giving it to the Tom Brady haters, but the Drew Brees lovers If you're gonna critique one player for something, you got to critique another. But for me, I love Drew Brees. I think he's a hell of a player, hell of a talent, hell of a on-field general. I just seen a story. I don't know how true it is, but it sounds pretty true. That Michael Thomas needs a lot of surgery this offseason, and basically delayed it in order to try and play a little bit longer with Drew Brees, knowing that this was probably it. So Drew Brees will 100% be remembered in our fandom, in anybody that watches football throughout the 2000s, from 2002, 3, 4, 5, all the way to now. If you watched for one season or one day or 10 years or 15 years, you're going to remember Drew Brees. Absolutely going to remember him. I think when you start to really dissect his career, you can understand that he's not a top 1 or 2 quarterbacks, but this isn't what that's about. We're taking Drew Brees for what he is, and he's a Hall of Famer. He's a Super Bowl champion, and he's a true leader on and off the field. And that's, we're not going to sit here on this pod and compare him at this time to other people, but we're going to, congratulate him on a hell of a career. And I agree with you. I hope we see him on Monday Night Football booth calling games. So
yeah, and just a little fun kind of story is after Drew Brees hurt his shoulder, if you want to think about what one doctor did in terms of the ripple effect, not many people know after he was hurt, Nick Saban, who wasn't very successful in Miami after one season, wanted Drew Brees. When the Miami doctor said, we're not going to take him, the shoulder's too bad. And, Nick Saban then leaves to go to college football after another year, and Drew Brees goes to the Saints, and look what we've had for the past 10, 15 years after that. So it's kind of crazy how, you can look back on one little decision and how it can alter so much. But I don't think there's a single person, even if you're an NFC South fan outside of Saints, that will remember Drew Brees in a negative fashion. He has nothing but good, positive vibes about him. He will be missed. But let's not get caught up in the moment comparing him to Tom Brady and the way that he looks, throwing the ball at this stage of his career. This is what it's supposed to look like, and he's even played longer than a lot of quarterbacks get the chance to. So it's his time to go, but what a ride it's been. It's going to be a weird NFL without Drew Brees, but the page is turning in the NFL.
Absolutely. Let's stay south. Let's talk about another city and another quarterback that had some hurricane issues. Let's talk about Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson. Where to begin? The Texans were bad. We called it. We nailed it on this pod.
Feels good.
Oh, it does feel good. I mean, not to Deshaun Watson's demise, but yes, we nailed them. And so they recently signed a guy away from New England. His name's Nick Castley something. And he's the new GM. Watson supposedly was not happy with the choice. And the guy that's been running the franchise basically used to be a former preacher. I mean, there's a weird story behind it. Feel free to go look into it. The Texans are kind of a train wreck right now. But Deshaun Watson basically openly said he wants out. Andre Johnson, a former Houston Texan, is beloved in Houston as a no-nonsense, no BS, put it all on the field kind of guy. Basically has stuck up for Watson and say, hold your ground, get yourself out of there, essentially. Let me start with one question. Do you think Eric Bieniemy is the only thing that can keep Deshaun Watson in Houston? That's the first question.
No, I think it's time, honestly, in my opinion, to turn the page onto where is he going to go. I don't think a new head coach is going to be able to save the relationship between Deshaun and the Texans. And it seems like every 24 hours we're getting a new report on how much further and further Deshaun Watson's gone in terms of not returning phone calls, not listening to the team. And now there's a report out, I think it was either last night or early this morning, that he's not going to play for the Texans. So I think at this point, it's time to start looking at where he could go. And Eric Bieniemy, there's no reason for him to kind of risk it at the Texans, because when you're weighing head coach of the Texans versus just staying offensive coordinator of the Chiefs, I don't really know if there's any real benefit to promoting out other than just rewarding yourself with a head coach spot. But I don't know if the Texans is really where you want to go. Although I did predict that Eric Bieniemy could be a good coach, but it seems as though they weren't going to interview him. And then after Deshaun Watson was done, they're like, "Oh wait, hold on, let's interview Bieniemy," just to see. It's just a mess, and I think we should. I think most people listening would agree that we should move on to where do we think Deshaun Watson could go and what teams have the best packages kind of for him or what could be offered.
So let's go ahead and start with the obvious. I think there's two teams that can offer a great package. And then I think there's another team that would trade the farm in order to get him. The obvious, the New York Jets. They hold the number 2 pick. They also have an additional pick that they received from the Seahawks. It's late 20s, I believe, 23, 24, somewhere in there. And then they have future picks that I think they would be willing to part with, and they have a ton of cap space. I think that makes a ton of sense. Do you agree or do you disagree?
Yeah, I do. I believe the Jets have 5 first-round picks in the next 3 years, including this one. Along with this year also having the 34th overall pick, second pick in the second round. So, yeah, the Jets can offer a lot without including a player. If they include Sam Darnold, they might be able to knock a pick off. But yes, in terms of draft capital, I believe the Jets lead the way.
You know what's kind of crazy is, let me kind of dumb this trade down for people that are listening. Not saying that people are listening are dumb. I want to make this like simple.
Yeah.
Would you trade right now? Let's say you're the Jets and you still have Jamal Adams. Okay? The Seahawks have draft picks. The Texans have Deshaun Watson. Would you, Brad Eppert, trade Jamal Lewis to the Seahawks in order to receive Deshaun Watson?
Yes.
What? Of course you would.
Or if you just keep them, would you package Jamal Adams and a first-round pick for Deshaun Watson? Because the picks
really
you're trading along, yes, the picks you're trading along with the future first-rounder is what you receive for Jamal Adams. You have a defensive head coach in Robert Saleh, I believe his name is, and that was one of the names mentioned personally by Deshaun Watson as someone he would like to play for. So you have Robert Saleh, defensive head coach. You get Deshaun Watson. And Deshaun Watson makes any team instantly better. Instantly.
Yeah, I think it's just a no-brainer to me. In my opinion, I think it'll get done relatively quickly after the Super Bowl and the new year starts up in mid-March. I think it's going to get done super quick. It'll probably be one of those deals
before the Super Bowl.
What's that?
I wonder if it might even be done before the Super Bowl. I don't know.
It could be agreed upon. Obviously, the paperwork can't until the new league year, mid-March or whatever. I just see this getting done relatively quick because the Jets don't want to start planning for the number 2 pick if they're not going to have it. And the team that's, the Houston Texans want to start planning for the number 2 pick if they feel they're going to have it. So for me, it's a no-brainer for both teams. The Texans can restart, man. They get the draft picks back that they've lost in the Tunsil trade. They get the draft picks that they've lost back.
DeAndre Hopkins.
And it's a bad situation for Houston.
It's a mess.
Real mess. Second team. Let's stay in the AFC East. The Dolphins.
Yeah.
I think the Dolphins make a stupid amount of sense because they have the draft capital to trade. What do they have? The number 3 pick?
They have the number 3, number 18, a first rounder next year. So wherever they want to be.
I mean, for them, it's would you trade Lermy Tunsil for Deshaun Watson? Like, what? Isn't that what it would be? Yeah.
I think there's a possibility for them as well that they could reduce the amount of picks if they incorporate Tua.
And
because
they should.
You almost can't keep Tua bring in Deshaun Watson. So
you've wasted a draft pick if you keep Tua. Yeah. So incorporating Tua and trading picks, that one right there is only intriguing to Houston if they're interested in Tua over a guy maybe of Justin Fields or Trey Lance or Zach Wilson, whatever. If you like Tua more than anybody else in the draft, you would take that package more. Or you take that package because you're okay with Tua and you don't want to use the number 3 pick on a QB. Pretty fair.
Right, yeah.
And what do you think that makes the Dolphins? In my opinion, I think that puts them right there with Buffalo. Not quite Buffalo, because I think Buffalo, they're a Final Four team. But Miami is definitely a playoff team.
Yeah, they have the defense, obviously. Deshaun Shoddy can do it with little to no pieces in Jackson or in Houston. So I think you're maybe a few offensive linemen or maybe one dominant receiver outside of Devontae Parker away. They've got a good tight end. They've got a good running back, Gaskins and Gesicki. So I think the Dolphins would be instantly they're a playoff team, and I believe they're immediately fighting for the AFC East. I think it's a big deal for the Jets and Dolphins because not only do they both make the most sense and they both have the capital to do so, but likely right now it seems if one of them doesn't, their division rival is going to get them.
It's an
And
arms race.
and with Buffalo already looking to be set for the next 10 to 15 years, this is a very crucial guy because Deshaun Watson's just that good.
Yeah. And I also think, I mean, New England's got their issues, but they're really a good quarterback away from being solid again. So you definitely don't want to, I mean, you have the ability to pass everybody and be that clear-cut number 2 and fight for 1. Go do it. Go do it. I mean, it's been a mediocre second to fourth place for a long time. So another team that makes a lot of sense. This is being brought up, and this team has a QB situation, so it's kind of weird. But the Niners. What do you think about the Niners potentially landing Deshaun Watson?
I think whether it's Deshaun Watson or not, I do think Garoppolo is just about done in San Francisco. I don't know. I feel like if the 49ers were to get into it, I feel like it might have to be a multi-team trade. Where one team gets Garoppolo and a pick, San Francisco gets Deshaun Watson, and then the Texans get, 2 or 3 picks from both of those teams. Like, the Patriots, if you will.
Yeah.
If the Patriots sort of say, we'll give the Texans a first rounder, you give us Jimmy Garoppolo, and give the Texans, a first, a second, and a future first. The Texans would then get 3 first-round picks and a second, give away Deshaun Watson and Jimmy Garoppolo moves. But I feel like it's a long shot for the 49ers, but if they were to piece something together, it could happen. Kyle Shanahan wants a better quarterback. I think that's clear and obvious. So it'll be interesting to watch that situation because Garoppolo, maybe we can argue, is he good enough? But he's inconsistent and he's hurt too often to be able to plan around him as your franchise quarterback.
Everything you said makes a ton of sense, and I agree with it, except New England traded Garoppolo away for a second round pick. I don't believe his value has increased.
Well, say they get 2 first and 2 seconds, or 2 first, a second, and a third. But then again, when we talk about all that, the deals that the Jets or Dolphins could supply would probably exceed those. So I don't know. But Deshaun Watson, back to just him, I believe it's safe to say he will be on the move. I don't think he's a Texan anymore. And we'll see what happens in that organization because they may end up losing J.J. Watt too.
I think they will lose J.J. Watt. I think both Watson and J.J. Watt are both gone, if not Brandon Cooks as well. I mean, I think anybody with a contract, they are going to ship them out. I mean,
got to blow it up.
Got to blow it up. There's a lot of problems there. Make it fixable, be bad for a couple of years, and move on. So who knows? Talking about another team that's been bad. They were bad for 15 straight games. They won week 1 and lost a bunch. Jacksonville. They got the number 1 pick, and they hit a home run at head football coach, at least on paper. Urban Meyer, former head coach, 2-time national champion at Florida, 1-time national champion for The Ohio State University, 3-time college football national champion. I mean, that's huge. And he's taken his talents to Jacksonville. Back to Florida, where he had a lot of success, but this time in the NFL, he's got the number 1 pick and roughly $70-ish million in cap. And what's your take? First off, grade the hire.
On a number or letter scale?
Still letter scale, I guess.
Definitely A plus.
Oh, okay.
Yes, if you guys are into that. I don't think they could have got a better candidate at head coach. I think the team is still young enough. They're so young that I don't think he'll have a problem with the environment on the players he's coaching. Yes, they're still professionals, but I believe Urban Meyer has earned the respect of a lot of people in the league or in and around the league. I also, you guys saw my vote. I posted this in the Facebook page. I do believe Jacksonville could go from worst to first, and I don't believe it's some kind of fluke either. They're going to draft Trevor Lawrence. James Robinson was a top. I believe he finished top 5 in the rushing, but he missed the last 2 games. So even if he didn't, he would have.
Definitely a
Um,
success.
Yes, there are 3 receivers: Laviska Shenault, DJ Chark, and Keelan Cole. Tyler Eifert. I think they're fine on offense, and Urban Meyer is going to be able to do a good job. But with the 70 million and the draft picks, they're going to have some good drafting going on. You start to look at some of the defensive free agents, and I'm not going to spend a ton of time, but I'll name some of these, veteran pieces they can add to this defense at multiple levels. Von Miller, Matthew Judon, Leonard Williams, Melvin Ingram, Bud Dupree, Shaq Barrett, Patrick Peterson, Clowney, Justin Houston, Ngakoue, Ryan Kerrigan, both safeties from Denver, Justin Simmons and Kareem Jackson, Levante David, Richard Sherman. All these guys are out on free agent, and there's a ton more. They could be re-signed by their team, sure, but when you
Or
have
tagged.
when you have $70 million, that could be potentially 5 or 6 really good veterans to sprinkle around your team. Whether you go out and get an offensive lineman, maybe a left
Yeah.
guard, and then a middle linebacker and a safety or a corner. The defense needs a lot of work, but they kind of almost don't even have to think about offense right now. You draft Trevor Lawrence and you give that offense, maybe you draft a wide receiver or lineman here or there. You give that offense 2 years to get working together, and you focus on the defense. I think they have the cap to do it. I think they have the coach to do it. And I think they're in the right division to be able to do it. So, with that being said, I think the Jaguars are a super fun storyline that will be very interesting to watch unfold next year.
Yeah, I somewhat agree with some of the things you said. Here's my biggest thing. So you pointed out the poll that we had up on the Facebook page. There was roughly 6 to 8. There was 8 teams. Everybody
Yep.
that finished dead last in their division, who has the best chance to then finish first. So obviously it's a question of the 8 teams who has the best chance. And part of my issue with the Jacksonville Jaguars isn't the Jaguars. It's the fact that their division had the Colts and the Titans, who, I mean, they're both great teams. They both made the playoffs this year, and they have the ability to make it again next year. Does Jacksonville? They lost 15 straight games, and I don't believe quarterback was their biggest issue. Now, they started a couple different ones. I just think that there's a reason they lost 15 straight games. There's a reason they should have went winless. Their one win was against a team they had no business beating.
Yeah.
They're gonna add Trevor Lawrence, and they're gonna add a brand new head coach that's never coached NFL type football. They're gonna have a great season, but I think people are gonna be remiss by what a great season is for them. I think they're gonna go probably, and again, we're really far ahead right now. There's been no moves yet. We don't even know 100% if Trevor Lawrence will be drafted number 1. He's going to be, but hypothetically speaking. I think 5-11 would be a great year for them. And then the following year, year 2, when you roll over more cap, you still have your quarterback on a rookie deal because they're going to take a rookie quarterback. I think they're in line to steal that division in year 2. I just think there's a lot of problems.
I know there's a lot of problems, but they lost a lot before last year, so they were learning.
Absolutely.
They were able to beat the Colts once, whether it was a fluke or not. They beat them.
Yep.
They had a game against the Titans, 33-30. Mm-hmm. If Deshaun Watson leaves that division, I think they took the Packers into overtime. They played the Browns well for 3 quarters. They just didn't have the extra oomph, and I believe I believe their offense will work better with Trevor Lawrence. And if they can get some pieces on defense, I think this team, even though they were 1-15 and you could bet on them to be bad, I just think there was a lot of games where they're 1 or 2 guys who can make things happen. One or two of those a game, just playmakers making plays away from, winning 3-4 this year. And that's why I think they could be a team that could flip from 1 win to 9 wins. And we talk about how close this division is. There's a good chance that they kind of beat each other up, and 9 to 10 wins may take the division. We might not
Mm-hmm.
see 6-11 win teams in the playoffs again on the AFC side next year. So
Yeah.
I just think their 1-15 was a little bit extreme, because I still feel like the Jets were a worse team than the Jaguars. And with Urban Meyer and Trevor Lawrence, I'd have to think that takes them a little bit further.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sticking to Urban Meyer and what he can do with the Jags, the one thing he will do is he's going to be involved with the draft process, and I'm going to assume that he's going to hit some draft picks. I mean, he's going to have that advantage. He either recruited these guys or coached some of these guys, scouted some of these guys on Fox Big Noon Kickoff. I mean, he's been talking college football now for 2 years. He coached it 2 other years. So a lot of these guys that played 4 years, he has a good understanding of who these kids are. And he has no problem as the Hall of Fame college football coach that he is picking up the phone and calling Nick Saban and saying, what's the goods on this kid, or calling and picking up the phone for Dabo, or obviously him and Ryan Day are cool. I don't even think he has a problem calling Jim Harbaugh and saying, Jim, what can you tell me about this kid? Why should I draft him? That will be a unique trait, and I think it's going to seem like he's going to have a Saints type draft where he hits everybody.
Yeah. And a lot of people have brought up the comparison of when Pete Carroll came from college to the NFL. I mean, for 3-4 drafts, he was just lights out. He was getting guys left and right because, like you said, he's been through and around the system for so much. He knows what guys he needs that their strengths fit what he needs.
Yeah.
So it's very exciting. And if you're a Jaguars fans, it's got to be exciting. And gosh, the AFC South has a lot of big question marks. Phillip Rivers, Deshaun Watson, the Jaguars. The Titans fell apart late. So, I mean, the whole division's a little bit wacky, but it's going to be fun.
Yeah. Well, that pretty much wraps up headlines.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Championship Sunday. Boy, are we in for it.
Dang.
Let's see here. Championship Sunday is going to kick off at 3:00, I believe. Sorry, hang on here. Yep, 3:05 on Fox. We're going to see
Rodgers Brady.
Boy, is this one fun. So Tom Brady and the Buccaneers are traveling to Lambeau Field to face the number 1 Packers with Aaron Rodgers. I told you before the podcast that I could see any of these 4 teams, whatever the combination, in the Super Bowl. I mean, everybody at this point. Hopefully, you're not ruling anybody out.
Right.
But I want to say a couple of things on this game specifically. So I have a friend. I'm not sure if he listens to the pod or not, but he said before the season he predicted, in quotations, that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers would host the first home playoff Super Bowl. Okay, because the Super Bowl is in Tampa. He's also predicting that Tampa is going to get whitewashed this weekend in what's supposed to be called the frozen tundra. It's going to apparently snow in Lambeau Field, and you can't have it both ways. So everybody that's going to, over the next week on the Real Talk Facebook page, that wants to talk up Aaron Rodgers and talk down the Tampa Bay Bucs / Tom Brady, keep that same energy, because if and when Tom Brady upsets Aaron Rodgers in Lambeau Field, don't tell me that Tampa was going to win the whole time. Keep that energy, okay? Keep that energy that the MVP of the league, Aaron Rodgers, is going to just obliterate Tampa. So when Tampa pulls off the upset, which I don't even know if it would be so called an upset. I mean, they literally blew them out earlier this year. Anytime Tom Brady is on the field, and this isn't me just like going about Tom Brady, but This Tampa Bay roster is good. It's a good roster. I mean, it's as good as the four of these. These are all four teams that have great rosters. Okay. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense came up huge this past weekend, and I know you made a subtle shot about, Tampa's defense didn't get any of the credit Tom Brady did, but I think Facebook was on the bandwagon of the defense. Obviously there's some main media guys that were saying Tom Brady actually played an exceptional second half. He made some huge throws. There's one specifically, I believe it was third down and long. He hit Scotty Miller down the seam. I mean, literally at 43 years old, can we just geez Louise. I understand you're still playing quarterback, so we expect him to make that throw, but that is a hell of a throw in double coverage to a wide receiver that played probably 12 snaps. It's just holy cow, man. Brady did not start the game off good, which is why his stat line was so bad. But in that second half, he led off turnovers, touchdown drive, field goal, touchdown, and then ran the clock out. I mean, what more can you ask?
So when we're talking about the Buccaneers-Saints game, I mean, part of a job of a quarterback is to not force the issue and not be the reason you lose. It's not always to be the reason you win. And, I know some people listen to Colin Cowherd and some people just watch the game. And, if Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Gronk, and AB were to combine for 7 catches, and we told you that before the game, there's no way the Bucs win. There's no way. Yeah. Cameron Brate's the leading receiver. Brady has a quarterback rushing touchdown with the sneak. I mean, we all know that more or less the Saints lost the game, but Brady, they won the turnover battle by 4. So not giving the ball away and punting and allowing your defense to have time and space to make those plays, that's part of the thing. So I'm not going to take too much time on that.
Let me stop you there. So I want to piggyback what you just said. Look at Tom Brady's stat line from the 2 games against the Saints early in the year. Of his 13 picks he threw on the year, 5 of them came against the Saints. He had 0 in the playoff game. That's huge. That alone. He averaged 2.5 picks a game against the Saints. He threw 0. And obviously, Drew Brees threw 3. But Tom was great. The Bucs defense was exceptional.
Yeah.
And as we get into this game specifically, anytime Tom Brady is an underdog, I can't imagine the other team feeling good about that.
Yeah, so when people are talking about the weather and how going from Tampa to Green Bay, playing at Lambeau Field is going to affect, I don't think it will affect Tom Brady. Playing in New England for all those years, I don't know how you would think it would. However, some of those other guys, it may. You never know. But I can tell you if it's, under 10 degrees and it's snowing, if that's what the forecast is projected.
It's projected currently at between 27 and 21 degrees with a 40 or 50% chance of snow.
That's football weather. I don't think that's not going to be a true huge factor, I don't believe. But I guess the thing is Green Bay, it's not close. They're the hottest team in the NFL currently. Aaron Rodgers playing out of his mind. No one can guard Devontae Adams. Statistically, with I think the 484 yards I think they had was the number of total offense, that's the most an offense has ever put up against the number 1 defense in the postseason. They absolutely shredded them. Devontae Adams did what he wanted to do. Aaron Jones, Aaron Rodgers. The only thing that's tricky about this matchup is there's only one team that made them look human, and it was the Buccaneers. I do believe, maybe this is a little bit of a jump here, but I believe if the Packers make it to the Super Bowl, they will beat either of the AFC teams. However, the Buccaneers were it's kind of like last year with the 49ers. The Packers could beat anybody, but that's the team they didn't want to see. I feel like this year they could beat anybody except they didn't want to see the Bucs. I think they were cheering for the Saints, and it didn't happen. So it's interesting because I think the Bucks versus either the Bills or Chiefs is a really good, better matchup in the Super Bowl. However, I think the Packers would beat either AFC team. I know I just said this, but
Yeah.
them playing against the Buccaneers, man, I don't know if that's just if they can. They got beat 38-6, I think was the final, and by 32 points. I think it was
I thought the Packers scored more than 6.
maybe 16. I guess I could look it up real quick.
Regardless, I think it was 3 scores.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what's the X factor of this game? Who are you taking, and why are they winning this game?
Honestly,
I know last week you called the Bucks to win the Super Bowl, but I'll let you regress. Now that the matchup's set here, who are you taking?
I like the Packers. I think they're just the better team here.
Okay.
And it's crazy because you like the names of the Buccaneers and things like that, but Devontae Adams is uncoverable. Jair Alexander has been playing lights out this year on the edge, and they've got a couple different guys who can supply pressure for the Packers. And then offensively, it kind of seemed like the last time we played the Bucks, Rodgers threw 2 interceptions, got mad, and then just quit. I'm not saying that'll happen again, but it really seemed like they were rolling. He threw basically 2 pick sixes, one got returned to the 2, and he was just like, it honestly looked like the whole Packers just mailed it in, and then obviously they went on to win a bunch of games afterwards. I just, right now, the best quarterback currently right now this week, I think, is Aaron Rodgers, and that's what I'm going to take is the Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones, that 3-headed monster. I like what they're doing in Green Bay. Would not be shocked if the Bucks win. Obviously, all 4 of these. I mean, these are the best 4 quarterbacks all year. Russell died off after about half the year.
Yeah,
not often.
And Brady seemed to have picked up actually.
Right. There was 5 people in the MVP conversation, and it's these 4 quarterbacks and Derrick Henry. So to see all 4 of these quarterbacks here, it's very exciting.
Yeah, I mean, let me say this: I'm kind of at a, I don't know, a win-win situation. That's what I'm looking for. I have a playoff pool that I'm in. You're in as well. I hold the Packers and the Chiefs as my teams. So if they reach the Super Bowl simultaneously, I'm guaranteed the money. So for the Packers to win, would be a 50% chance of me winning the money. But unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to get the money because there's somebody that doesn't give a shit about money, MVP awards, recognition. I've seen enough. And had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this year went 0-16, it would not hurt a lick of this dude's legacy. But he didn't. And we knew he wasn't going to, obviously. And they did enough on this roster to beef it up, and they brought in a couple of Tom's buddies, AB throughout the midseason, and Gronk's had his days, but truthfully, I mean, he has 1 catch through these postseason, and we could talk about how good this roster is all day long, but there's really one major difference between last year's roster and this roster, and that is Tom Brady. If you want to even try to make the case for Gronk, I mean, go look his stats up and tell me where they compare to the elite tight ends in this game. He's a great run blocker. I'm not trying to down Gronk at all, but look at AB. I mean, they didn't get him till halfway through the season, and even his production, he has like 3 notable games tops. And he's done really nothing in the playoffs at this point. I'm not betting against Tom Brady, and I'm not picking against him either. And I have no reason to believe that he won't walk straight into Lambeau, look the cold weather in the face.
Not even that cold.
People
are hyping that up too much. It's not negative.
It's literally New England weather. I mean, Green Bay is known for some cold games. I ain't trying to discriminate or talk down about Green Bay. This ain't -7. I mean, this is football weather. Brady's gonna look it dead in the face, and to be honest, in a running situation where there is heavy snow, I'm going to favor Tampa. I'm going to favor that running game. Fournette seems to really be gashing the holes. Ronald Jones, when he's not asked to catch the ball, supplies enough. I like Tampa to win here. And this is where it's going to shock people, but I think they'll take advantage of Green Bay. I think they're going to piss them off. I think they're going to win by 2 scores. 38-24. I think Tampa wins this one. And I think their offense finally clicks in the postseason because it hasn't yet. They've really won games on defense. And they'll do some defensive things against the Packers. And the Packers will look, 24 points is nothing to hang your hat on. But I think this is their best game of the year because no matter who they play, I think they're going to struggle in this Super Bowl. But I like them to beat the Packers in Lambeau Field.
Yeah, and I could see it. I mean, the Bucs have played great, and they've only gotten better throughout the year.
Yeah.
The monkey's off their back by beating the Saints.
I'm glad you said that because I wish I would have said that. The one team that they played, I hate to say this, they play scared against that team because, Jared, big follower of the podcast, from the podcast, he said it. He's like, this team can't beat the Saints. They struggled. He was right. He nailed it. He nailed them. I mean, they couldn't beat them week 1. They couldn't beat them week 12 or whatever. They came into the playoffs, and they played a pretty conservative game. They ran it a ton. By far the most they've run it all year. They played a conservative game. They didn't turn the ball over. Tom made enough plays. The defense made more than enough plays, and they won. They're going to open it up against Green Bay. And they did enough last week without Mike Evans. If Mike Evans is hypothetically locked down by Alexander, even though he's 6'5", and Alexander's only like 5'10", he's a relatively short lockdown corner. I like Mike Evans' matchup there to get at least one jump ball that sets him up for a field goal. He'll do enough. I think we'll see some out of Gronk in the run game. The Buccaneers are winning this game. Mark my words.
Yeah, I guess I don't feel strongly about it either way as you do. I just think right now Green Bay's just rolling, and I don't think there's anything the Buccaneers can do defensively that the Rams couldn't, and it didn't seem to affect them. Like you said, the Buccaneers definitely pose a greater threat than the Rams do offensively, especially with the way Jared Goff has been playing lately. So if you were to ask me in hindsight, obviously maybe it's a little biased in him now, but if you were to say who are the 2 best teams in the NFC all year, I would have said the Buccaneers and the Packers. If you would have said who are the best 2 AFC teams all year, I would have said, well, first Steelers. No, I'm just kidding. It would have been Chiefs and Bills. It would have been Chiefs and Bills. So we got the right matchup, and it's really nice to not have a dog in this fight. I will say, out of the teams that I would like to see win the Super Bowl, these teams are 3rd and 4th. I think these teams are 3rd and 4th. Maybe 2nd and 4th, but I'd like to see the Bills win the championship.
I'm going to go on a limb that say Tampa is last.
Tampa is last, and it's really because
Tom's won it 6 times.
No. It's not really because I'd like to see Mike Evans win one. It's more or less that Brady doesn't really need a 7th, although it doesn't really matter. But I don't want to see AB win a Super Bowl, to be honest with you. That kind of irritates me. And when it comes to Aaron Rodgers, I think his personality, he doesn't get enough respect as he should because he's kind of arrogant. But I kind of like that arrogance out of Aaron Rodgers. And last year I wanted to see Rodgers Mahomes. So if the Packers make the Super Bowl, I want the Chiefs to make it. But it's really Josh Allen. I like Josh Allen. I like Sean McDermott. Josh Allen, like I said, I like them out of Wyoming. I told you before we did our draft stuff that I follow the combine and the draft process pretty closely. And I didn't think he'd be this good, but I always thought Josh Allen was a modern day version of Big Ben coming out of college. A little bit more mobile, but big gunslinger. And I just like his personalities. I'd like to see the Bills win it. And
we're transitioning it, so go ahead. Yeah,
that's where I was kind of getting with this. I like the Bills to win this weekend. I would have liked the Bills with Patrick Mahomes at full health. It looks like we're either getting Patrick Mahomes at 85% or not at all. So I know it's unfortunate that he's hurt. Maybe they come out and win. We got the logo and the T-shirts coming around. Anything is possible. Chad Henne doing his thing. And Andy Reid. Can't say enough about Andy Reid. But I don't know. The Bills played a really good Ravens defense. The defense had to get a touchdown for them to win that game so handily. That touchdown goes the Ravens' way. It's 10-10. It's a totally different ball game. I like everyone talks about the Chiefs offense being unstoppable. I think the Bills could go for 30 plus. I think this has a chance to be over 70 points total between the two teams scored if Mahomes plays. But I like the Bills to be able to force one or two more turnovers than the Chiefs. And Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley, that group. I don't know. I just really like what they're doing in Buffalo.
Yeah, I mean, you touched on this a second ago that you thought the Packers could beat either of these two teams, and I somewhat agree because I think they're just of the four teams remaining, they're probably the most complete as far as what they can do. If you were to give them a grade in each level, I think they would probably score on average the highest. They have their weaknesses, of course, as do all four of these teams. But the two teams that I think have the highest firepower on offense isn't the Packers. I think it's these two. What they're able to, and obviously the Packers are good in their own right. I'm not trying to down them. But I think that the Chiefs and the Bills can both, they can shock you how much they can score. Obviously, I'm not trying to down the Packers by any means. I'll keep it to this game. But for me, I told you this weeks ago, I didn't think the Kansas City Chiefs would lose another game. Obviously, they benched and folded it up for Week 17, and this team's done enough this year to make me think that they can beat anyone on any given day, and I don't think it changes. I think that they will beat the Bills. But I want to say this because I've been really coming around on this lately. Obviously, anybody that listens to this pod, I kind of downed Josh Allen before the season started. I apologized, and at this point, I hold him in pretty high regard. I think in the next 5 years, we will look at Josh Allen as the best quarterback in this league over Pat Mahomes. He does things that even Mahomes really can't do. I think that he possesses traits that Patrick Mahomes wishes he possessed. Size, for one. But in this game, in this situation, I think the Chiefs win this one. And feel free to take the over. I don't even know what the over is, but feel free to take it. But I think the Chiefs do more than enough in this game to, I don't want to say they comfortably win, but they're going to win this game. Coach, Chiefs. Quarterback, today, Chiefs. The one thing that Patrick Mahomes doesn't really get enough credit for, in my opinion, is how freaking poised he is. He's incredibly poised.
Well, he's seen it all.
Isn't that wild, though? He's
24. He's seen it
all.
Third
Third year. It's his
MVP,
fourth year in the league, but it's his
MVP, Super Bowl winner.
I mean, he's legitimately. This is his third straight AFC title game. He's in. God, my skin's crawling. He's in Brady territory at this point. I mean, Josh Allen, this is new. And I understand he's handled it great, and they're 13-3, 14-3 now because they won less for a reason. 15-3. They've won 2 games already, right? Yeah, they've won 2 games. They deserve to be here. But I can't bet against Patrick Mahomes and what the Chiefs are able to do. And they got balls of steel, man. What they did against Cleveland without Patrick Mahomes even. Dude, this team is far and away the best coached team in the playoffs, in my opinion. Far away. I like the Chiefs, and I don't have a score, but I like the Chiefs to at some point to get it done. And there's a rule that Nick Wright kind of made up, and to be honest, I haven't seen that he's wrong. And I know you get a little upset, but if the Chiefs are down by less than a touchdown and they got the ball, you're behind. It's true. I mean, even last week, I mean they have a small lead. They're up by 5, and it seemed like maybe they didn't get it done. And I can't imagine. I like the Chiefs to find a way. A way.
I think you jumped the gun there on Josh Allen, just assuming he's the best quarterback. He's amazing. So I'm not going to say
very good.
Just takes quite a bit of. I mean, because before the season, I stood on the table for Josh Allen. That's one of the things that we
Yeah.
disagreed on. Now, I didn't think he'd be this good this year.
Yeah, it's
But
crazy to
obviously,
say that.
you gave him Stephon Diggs. He had one guy who he can say he's going to be open for me on this play, and to see what he's done with that is phenomenal.
So let's talk about that for a second. So Russell Wilson, we've both kind of been in agreement most of this year, and I don't know where we stand. Right? You said currently it's Aaron Rodgers, and I actually agree with you. Like today, Aaron Rodgers is playing the best quarterback right now, but Russ has Lockett, Metcalf. He's been able to do his thing. Mahomes literally came into the league with two of the best offensive players in the league. He threw 50 touchdowns and won Super Bowl in year 2.
Sure.
And had Kareem Hunt. You're perfect, okay? Brady even. Last year struggled. His numbers were average. A lot of people were like, well, maybe this is the cliff. Comes to Tampa, he gets some above average receivers, and now look what he's doing. Josh Allen didn't have that. We gave him that, and he literally blew up in one season. What could we project if they give him really the Bills don't even have a solid tight end.
Think about we're going this far with the Bills. Like, I don't know. I don't know what else you could give them. But if in the second round they took a wide receiver that ended up being a home run hit opposite of Diggs, something, a more secure running game, they would seem almost unstoppable. But I think it was only one game this year they had less than 20 first downs.
Yeah.
Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes have two things that are ridiculous. From 1 to 80 yards, they can hit the receiver. They have unbelievable arm strength.
Yeah.
And 2 is their ability to overcome negative plays.
Yeah.
It's 2nd and 14. Well, that's fine. Just draw up the 10-yard slant. And they just hit it with such velocity and consistency that even when you get them a negative play on them, they seem to bounce back with a big play. So again, the Bills, outside of a weird game against the Titans and a good game against the Chiefs, they're virtually undefeated. I mean, the Hail Mary is their only other loss. They've only been beaten twice, and it was back-to-back weeks, it seems like. I guess you can't avoid it. They did lose to the Cardinals.
That's another player that took a huge leap when we gave him a wide receiver, is Kyler, Mm-hmm. And Patrick Mahomes, I would argue he never took a leap. He literally, from the day one, he threw 50 bombs in his first year. So what was he his rookie year? Could he have thrown 40 bombs? Who knows? But all I know is that from last year's Josh Allen to this year's Josh Allen, they're not the same dude.
Right.
We're talking Everest climb, man. He really, really solidified himself as a top dude.
That Mahomes is the best quarterback. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. In the league right now, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong.
Yeah.
But if you think the gap is big, you're just not looking at
these 4 guys are all in the discussion.
Yeah.
Russ is in the discussion, and you could probably throw Watson in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe there's a guy I'm missing. I don't know. But it's just,
I think for now that's it.
Yeah, well, let's just put them there. And you said right now this game Mahomes is better. I think Josh Allen is playing better than I think Josh Allen. I think it goes Rodgers, Allen, Brady, and then Mahomes. Honestly, I
don't know that I said Mahomes Mahomes is playing better. I just think that he's more suited in this situation because I would agree with you. I think it's Rodgers,
with no fans,
Allen, Brady, Mahomes. As far as
I think little to no fans, it's a different ball game there.
There's gonna be some fans.
Well, I get that there's gonna be some fans, sure, but it's not gonna be 60,000 in Kansas City.
Yeah.
Like, for the most part, you're gonna hear some noise, but you've played this team already. You've won 2 playoff games on your way already. Their quarterback is playing more confidence than he ever has. Stephon Diggs is not a guy who lacks confidence at all. You look at Tre'Davious White, their pairing of safeties in Poyer and Hyde. Yeah. Tremaine Edmonds in the middle of that front 7. I just think this team has a lot of playmakers at a lot of spots, and so do the Chiefs. That's what I'm saying. I think this is going to be a really good game. I think the Bills can score just as much as the Chiefs. So this game is going to come down to the turnover battle. I think the Bills can win it. I think the Bills can win the turnover battle.
let me pose this question. And this is hypothetical. I'm not saying this will happen, but if the Chiefs are down 10 in the fourth quarter, is the game over?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, because if they're down 10, I believe the Bills will continue to score too. I don't think the Bills are going to be stifled in this game. I don't think a team will get.
That's
I
fine.
think
No, it's fine. It's your opinion.
No,
I just think if the Chiefs are down 10, I have every thought in the world that they could bring it back. If the Bills are down 10 to the Chiefs, I think the game is over with. It's just where I'm at. I just don't think Josh Allen is yet there. He could prove me wrong. He's proved me wrong this year, hasn't he?
He's gonna.
Hasn't he?
I think he's gonna. I think we want Mahomes Rodgers. I think there's
No. I would love Brady to beat Mahomes and Rodgers and Mahomes.
People who aren't Tom Brady fans, New England Buccaneers.
America wants Packers. Chiefs.
America wants Mahomes versus Rodgers. I think there's a really, really, really high % chance we could get Brady Allen, and people could be like, all right, well, I guess this is our Super Bowl. It's still going to be fun, but I think it can be. I don't know.
It's crazy because you just proposed another storyline in my head that I've been thinking about. Again, this is the Patriot fan in me, but how hilarious for the Bills to reach their first Super Bowl and how long and who's across the field, but the guy that's beat them more times than any quarterback has beaten any one team, Tom freaking Brady, is across the field from you.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. There's a crazy storyline for no matter what concoction of
Absolutely.
Team that's what makes it so fun from someone who doesn't have a dog in this fight. I can't imagine the nerves of Bills, Chiefs, Packers, or Buccaneers fans with where they're at right now. There's a lot of pressure on all teams for different reasons. The Chiefs, are you guys the next dynasty? Prove it. For the Bills, can you guys get over the hump? Can you guys do it? They probably have the least amount of pressure, honestly. The Bills do. They're playing on house money at this point.
I agree, 100%.
Have the Buccaneers, Tom Brady, can he win that 7th title? Can he do it with another team?
They're kind of playing with house money too.
Yes, and the Packers.
Why can't Rodgers win another Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Why can't he win another Super Bowl? Yeah.
So we've talked about these games. We can talk about them some more in the group chat if you guys want to. You put some stuff in there, what you think about what we went over and what we talked about. But I've got the Green Bay Packers versus the Buffalo Bills in the Super Bowl, and that was not my prediction before the year.
And I have Tom Brady and the Bucs against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. And at that point, I would take Tom Brady to complete the 3 greatest stretch of any game, defeating Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, and Patrick Mahomes on rate to a 7th Super Bowl is only a story you can make up in the books. So that's what I would love to see happen, and that's what I'm calling here. But truthfully, I think those are the 2 teams that are going to win too. Will that happen in the Super Bowl? I don't know. I'm excited, and truthfully, you can say I'm crazy, but guess what? If I flop the scenarios, I don't think I sound crazy. Like, these 4 teams, we both agree. Doesn't matter how you mix them up, they could all play on Super Bowl Sunday.
Yep.
So that's all I got.
Yeah, I don't really have much more. I mean, if the Steelers aren't going to be part of it, I don't know if I could have got a better 4 final teams for a Super Bowl run than what I got. I mean, but like I said, I really don't want to see AB win a Super Bowl.
Yeah. I'm living in the moment. Tom Brady is still in it for me, and I have a couple teams in a Super Bowl pool with the Packers and Chiefs. So for me, I'm living in the moment. But honestly, I cannot wait for the offseason to talk division breakdowns with you. Gosh, football's at an all-time high, man.
Yeah, I'm glad we got it too, because there was a chance we could have been missing out on all this. So I'm glad you guys have been listening to the podcast and being a part of the group on Facebook. It's been a long, fun ride, and I feel like a lot of you guys are enjoying it. But the group's at 170. Could we get to 200 by the Super Bowl? It's only up to you guys to get people into the group, build the community, build this thing up, more people, more fun. So
yeah.
we get 30 listeners or more to this podcast, can you guys all try and grab one more person, bring them into Real Talk? Let's get that number to 200 in one season.
That
One
would be
full
that would be incredible, guys. I wouldn't be
year.
able to thank you enough. And me and Brad haven't even talked about this, but I'll bring it up. If you guys want to see us go live on Super Bowl Sunday, we would be more than willing to do that. I know I didn't even talk to Brad, but I know we would. And we would love to talk to you guys about what you guys think. But man, would 200 be sweet? So yeah. So if you guys are just listening to this, awesome. If you guys are watching on YouTube, awesome. If you guys just check out the live shows, awesome. If you guys are just in polls, whatever it is, we appreciate it. We know you do as well. So yeah, that's all I got.
Yep, that's it, boys and girls.
Yeah. Catch you guys next time. Wolverines around at 7, so go blue. See you guys later. Blue.